A sloth moves so slowly, algae literally grows on its fur, which sounds like a hygiene issue, but is actually a life hack. Imagine being so chill, you become part plant. But here's the twist. Sloths aren't lazy. They're running one of the most extreme energy-saving modes in the animal kingdom. Like, if your phone battery lasted a month because you refused to open apps. Why would evolution turn an animal into a living slow-motion button? And how does being terrible at moving make you better at surviving? Turns out, going fast is overrated unless you enjoy being eaten. Sloths are basically running life on low battery mode 24/7, and not the kind where you panic at 5% and start closing apps, more like they never had more than 12% to begin with. Their metabolism is one of the slowest among mammals, which means every movement costs them precious energy they cannot easily replace. Think of it like living off a single granola bar for an entire week. You would not be sprinting anywhere either. The reason comes down to their diet. Sloths mostly eat leaves, which are about as nutritionally exciting as chewing on damp cardboard. Leaves are tough to digest and low in calories, so sloths extract energy very slowly and in very small amounts. Because of that, their entire lifestyle is built around not wasting energy. Fast animals burn fuel like sports cars. Sloths are more like a solar-powered calculator that only works when the sun feels generous. Their slow movement is not laziness, it is strict budgeting. Every climb, every reach, every dramatic head turn is a calculated expense. If a sloth tried to live like a squirrel zipping around, chasing things, being productive, it would basically starve mid-errand. So instead, it leans all the way into the strategy. Move less, burn less, survive longer. It is not missing deadlines, it just never signed up for the schedule in the first place. Imagine eating lunch and not being done digesting it until sometime next month that is just a normal Tuesday for a sloth. Their digestive system is incredibly slow and complex, taking days to weeks to break down a single batch of leaves. Inside their stomachs, there is a whole fermentation operation happening, kind of like a tiny brewery, except instead of producing craft beer, it is extracting whatever microscopic nutrients it can from leaves that clearly did not volunteer for this. The process is so slow that a sloth can carry around a gut full of partially digested food that makes up a significant chunk of its body weight. That is like you walking around with a backpack full of half-digested salad at all times. Because digestion takes so long, sloths cannot rely on quick energy boosts. There is no equivalent of grabbing a snack and suddenly feeling energized. They are more like, I will feel that leaf I ate 3 Thursdays ago, sometime next week. So, naturally, they pace themselves. Fast movement would demand quick energy, and sloths simply do not have that luxury. Their entire system is designed for patience, like a biological slow cooker set to the lowest possible setting. It might not be glamorous, but it is incredibly efficient for their environment. In a way, sloths are the ultimate long-term planners. They are not worried about what is happening right now, they are powered by what happened last week. Sloths are so slow that plants literally start growing on them, and somehow, that is a feature, not a bug. Their fur has a unique structure that allows algae to grow, especially in the humid rainforest environment. Over time, this gives sloths a greenish tint, turning them into what is essentially a moving moss patch. And when you move as slowly as a sloth, blending in like a chunk of the tree is a fantastic survival strategy. Predators like jaguars and harpy eagles rely on spotting movement, so if you barely move and also look like a leafy accessory, you are basically invisible. But it gets weirder in that fur ecosystem. You will also find moths and other tiny organisms living their best lives. The moths lay eggs in sloth droppings, then return to the sloth's fur, contributing nutrients that help the algae grow. It is like a tiny, bizarre apartment complex where everyone pays rent in fertilizer. And here is the kicker. There is some evidence that sloths may even benefit nutritionally from this algae, either by absorbing nutrients through their skin or occasionally ingesting it while grooming. So the sloth is not just slow, it is hosting a whole community that helps it survive. If you ever felt like your life was messy, remember there is an animal out there whose personal hygiene routine includes cultivating a garden on its body, and it is thriving. Sloths are not built for speed. They are built like someone who accidentally signed up for a marathon and decided to walk it very, very slowly. Their muscles are designed for endurance and efficiency, not power. Compared to other mammals of similar size, sloths have significantly less muscle mass, and the muscle fibers they do have are mostly slow-twitch fibers. These are great for sustained, low-energy activity like hanging from a tree for hours, but terrible for explosive movements like sprinting or jumping. It is like comparing a dimmer switch to a light switch. Sloths can maintain a low, steady output, but they do not have that instant on burst of energy. This works perfectly for their lifestyle. Hanging upside down all day requires constant muscle engagement, but not a lot of force. If they had big, powerful muscles, they would burn through energy far too quickly. Instead, they are optimized to just exist efficiently. Even their grip is so strong that they can hang on branches without actively thinking about it, sometimes even after death, which is both impressive and slightly unsettling. The point is, every part of their body is tuned to minimize effort and maximize conservation. If evolution were a gym trainer, sloths would be the client who says, "I am not here to get shredded. I am here to use the least energy possible and still survive." And evolution would respond, "Honestly, that is a solid plan." For an animal that barely moves, sloths have one extremely inconvenient habit. About once a week, they climb all the way down from the safety of their tree just to poop. This is, objectively, a terrible idea. It exposes them to predators and burns a ton of precious energy. So why do it? Scientists are still debating the exact reason, but one leading theory involves that weird little ecosystem living in their fur. The moths that hang out on sloths need the dung to reproduce, and in return, they help fertilize the algae that grows on the sloth's fur. So this weekly bathroom trip might actually support the entire system that keeps the sloth camouflaged and possibly nourished. Another idea is that burying their waste at the base of trees may help fertilize their food source like a very slow, very committed gardener. Either way, the key point is that sloths have minimized this costly activity to the absolute bare minimum once a week, get in, get out. Try not to get eaten. It is the most efficient, terrible plan imaginable. Imagine structuring your entire life so that even going to the bathroom is a carefully budgeted event. That is the level of energy optimization we are dealing with. Sloths are not lazy. They are running a tight, slightly bizarre operation where every movement, even the riskiest one, has to justify its energy cost.